So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back once again to the Watch Market Update Show. I I'm happy to see that a lot of you are here today. That's great. That's good news. That's wonderful news. Um, we have prepared something very nice for you people out there. We prepare something very nice. A little, yes. Happy to see you guys too. Yeah, just a little bit of thunder lightning, but that's all right. We're used to that already. They do that to check things out. Yes, thunder lightning. Can you guys hear me? An attack. It's an attack. It's an attack. It's a IAC. We're gonna change it from ICA to IAC. Okay. All right. Super. Uh, Guys, I get kind of tired of repeating myself for you guys to give me this and push the button. You do whatever you want. I don't care. Do whatever you want. But I am going to tell you something today that I've been telling you for some time. It's not about gold. I've been telling you guys for some time that, the world is upside down and the owners of the world are doing tricks. The puppets, puppeteers, all those people, the Black Rock, and Bohemian Grove, saluting the owl, the Vanguards, State Street, you know, Blackstone, the Rockefellers, the owners of the world, they're pulling strings, and ladies and gentlemen, they're playing, with stacked decks, they're stacked up the decks for them, not for us, for them. But that's besides the point, I just want to just say that, they're trying to find the best way that they can save themselves a couple of nickels from giving it to us. And what I mean by that is, I told you to take a look, see at silver. And ladies and gentlemen, last night I was looking at Australia, over there, real far. And silver went all the way up. It went all the way up to $70 a troy ounce silver. You know, maybe you want to keep your eyes open on that subject, but silver all the way up there, it's all the way up there, and it went crazy. It was a frenzy, the people were going crazy over there in the other countries. You don't know about this because you're only looking at, over here, but the other countries, you know, you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say, Mr. Damon. You're a very smart man with a lot of direction. And so just to, let you know, I want you guys to know the gold is going all the way to the moon as well. Is at $4,371. 40. Thank you very much, Thurston Howard III. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for telling me that information about Costco. Un cariño, papá, y un abrazo, y un besote fuerte, un besote de cariño. Gold is at $4,371, and at no time it's going to go over the $4,400 a troy ounce. Over the $4,400 a troy ounce, all right? Just to let you know. Silver at this moment is at $67 a troy ounce, $67. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you guys the other day to please take a look-see at platinum, and platinum, Poppy, is, they're not playing around. I told you this, less than 48 hours ago, I told you this. And when I told you this, I told you that gold, platinum was at $1,810, right? And that was 48 hours ago, ladies and gentlemen. You should love yourself some platinum, and it's right. And look at that. I paid $569, for 10 ounces of silver. That was Mr. Damon saying that, what he paid when he bought it somewhere. I don't know where he bought it at, but he bought 10 ounces for $569. That's all I got to say. And Mr. Donut is saying that he loves some platinum. And ladies and gentlemen, to my amaze, platinum is at $1,930, and at no time it will be at $2,000 a troy ounce. $2,000 a troy ounce. And you're not gonna believe this, ladies and gentlemen. Palladium. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say, sir. I said it to you. Silver. You know, $100 AUS. You know, the kangaroo over there. You know, I look at over there, the kangaroo. The kangaroo tells me everything. And it's not going down anytime soon, Mr. Donut. The platinum, but palladium, ladies and gentlemen, palladium, pa que se susten. So you guys get kind of, it's at $1,718. Papi, the world is upside down. The world is upside down. You can make a survey on me and find out what I've been talking about for the last 3 years, and they're gonna tell you that man has been talking about precious metals for a good, solid 3 years, and all metals are going crazy. All metals are going crazy. People are going crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, rhodium. Rhodium is at $8,025 a troy ounce. $8,025 a troy ounce. I told you, ladies and gentlemen, that silver, ladies and gentlemen, is the fifth biggest asset. The fifth biggest asset in front of Microsoft. Microsoft, the guy with the glasses, creepy eyes, that guy. Silver is in front of Microsoft, And I'm going to tell you this again, ladies and gentlemen. You might not believe it, but ladies and gentlemen, there's people out there that bought gold, gold at $250 a troy ounce. You know what it is to buy gold at $250 a troy ounce? Look into it. $250 a troy ounce. And today is at $4,400 a troy ounce, ladies and gentlemen. This is crazy. But I'm saying that because silver is already at $70. And I told you 65 es un bicocho. I have a friend of mine here, which I call him a Dr. E, Dr. Eve, unbelievable human being. And today he reminded me of something a couple of months ago. We were talking about that, in January, gold and silver would hit $60, and he wrote it down because he's a very honest man, a man with vision and direction. And he said, Juan, you remember when I said I made a mistake? We made a mistake. Even I made a mistake. We said $60 by January of 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, silver is at 70 and is going all the way to the moon. I'm telling you, it's going all the way to the moon, silver. Listen to me, papi. These people from the owners of the world, who tokenizing, tokenize and making all kind of, all that money they're making with JP Morgan, buying houses at $300,000, from all these people out there taking their houses away and selling them to themselves for $700,000. Papi, you don't know about this. Hay una loquera, hay una loquera. Loquera means moshugana, crazy, Una loquera lo que hay allá. You don't understand what's happening, Papa. Something is gonna have to happen, and it's sad to say this, but something is gonna have to happen in our world, in our world, and I gotta stop that because I might say things to you people and you might misunderstand me and think I'm a Meshuggah, but we're gonna leave it there. Let me just tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Today in downtown Florida, many things have happened in downtown Miami, Florida. Many things, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to tell you examples that you're not going to believe this. I have a person, an acquaintance that I know that he likes to talk to me. He likes to tell me things for free, He tells me things for free like I tell you guys things for free. And ladies and gentlemen, he had two Roger Dubuis. You know, Roger, Easy Diver. You know the Easy Diver? This Easy Diver is unbelievable. It's just a tank, and it's just the casing, the casing, and then the rest is rubber, and then it has the buckle is gold too, and it says Easy Diver, And ladies and gentlemen, this man was telling me this is the greatest savior that has happened to me. I've had these two watches, listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, for the last 2 years, and I can't sell it to nobody if my life depended on it, ladies and gentlemen. And he told me I had enough. And what I did was I took apart the whole watch. I took apart the whole watch. He's telling me, this guy's telling me, these people are unbelievable. He's telling me he took the two Easy Divers from Roger Dubuis, y lo desnudó. He got it naked. He took everything out. Crystal, he took out movement. He took out everything from the watch, rubber, everything, ladies and gentlemen. And he took the two Easy Divers and he took it to the refinery, ladies and gentlemen. And they gave him a total for each watch. The casing, it was un plomo, like a plum. One of those, when you go fishing, a sinker, right? A sinker, it's like that heavy. And he took it and they gave him $21,000 for 75%, 18 karat gold. They gave him $21,000 and he was trying to sell those watches for $13,000 and there was no bite. And they did him a favor. They left it there. He was selling it for 13 and he got $21,000 in melted gold. 75% because it's not pure. It's 18 karat gold. And he got a total of $42,000 on something that was dead in water, ladies and gentlemen. People are melting watches like you won't believe it, They're melting whatever they can find, They're melting the little daughters. When the daughter was born, they gave the little girl a little bracelet, a little charm. They took it away from her. They're melting it and making money because this is going crazy. I'm telling you something, don't let the bus by. Don't let the bus go by and get on the bus, ladies and gentlemen, because this is unbelievable. I'm telling you something, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you can hold on to it, but, people that have had, gold sitting around forever, now they're making all this money, In downtown Miami, nobody is selling watches. The only thing they're selling in downtown, ladies and gentlemen, is raffle tickets. The watch business has become a raffle ticket business, selling raffle to each other, to everybody, a big lie. Nobody wins those watches. It's all a lie, ladies and gentlemen, You're part of the gig. When you buy one of those tickets, one of those raffle tickets, you're part of the scheme is what you are. You get a free hotel, a free meal, and they fly you here and you go back home and that's it, It's all a big, grift. You guys don't know about this. Es pa' sapo, papi, pa' los sapos. And I got to keep on telling you this because it's my duty to tell you this. You got those people over there, the two toddler body brothers. Those people are driving around. And let me tell you something. Where credit is due, and I must give them credit because you guys are a bunch of lambones. You guys are a bunch of... Usted debe de abochornarse. You guys should be embarrassed that you're maintaining these people's red gold fast car, these Harley Davidson fat boy motorcycles, living large. I don't care. That's how it is. It's your money and you spend it as you please. But these people are making a ton of money without selling one single watch, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, you might be sitting in the movie theater and you might receive, a commercial of them, who's gonna win the next Rolex, Panda Daytona. Ladies and gentlemen, this is crazy what's going on, papi. These people are dancing with leopard tangas, on top of boats, dancing and going crazy. Things are tough out there. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know something, and I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to look at you real well. I want you to know something. Out of 100%, listen to this and get smart. Out of 100%, and I said it, forget about Sweet Kick Kino. You know what? Let me say this. Allegedly, allegedly. Let me salute him. Out of 100%, if you guys don't know this, out of 100% of watch dealers, I can tell you that you got 60% of them, which are very honest people, family people, grandfathered in the business. But at 40, I'm telling you, they're criminals. They're criminals. You heard it? They're criminals. Son criminales. All of them has some kind of shit stains in their underwears, And that's how it is, just to let you know. And you guys are maintaining these criminals, These criminals, you're maintaining these people an infection, Son vampiros. You know what vampiro is? Vampiro is a vampire. There's bloodsuckers, These people, they're no more. They don't care. They don't need to sell no more watches. They got you addicted. You became one of their slaves. These people are demons. These people are demonic. They don't care. They don't care what they do to you. But, I'm just letting you know. You heard it here first for free. For free. Papi, for free. If anybody dares to put out there, one, you're absolutely 100% right what you're saying. I double dare you. I triple dare you to put it up there. I know what I'm saying. Put it up there, ladies and gentlemen. Todos son delincuentes, todos. Delincuentes malos. Delincuentes malo. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you more, ladies and gentlemen. The ice, the Ice Cube, when you go to the club, ice. Ladies and gentlemen, here in Miami, Florida, they're picking them all up. The Ice Cube for the drink, or the Cuba Libre, Ice Cube. You understand me? They're picking them all up. You don't believe me? Papi, we're savages. We're savages in this channel. Papi. We're savages. And what do we get for being a savage? Eso mierda ya, brother. ¿Qué vamos a hacer? Esto es pa' gilipollas. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you what's going on. This is upside down. Nobody is selling watches out there. What they're doing is tricks. Tricks. That's all they're doing, tricks. But ladies and gentlemen, let me continue on. You're asking yourself why silver is behaving the way it's behaving. Silver is going all the way up because, I gotta tell you, of a strong industrial demand. Okay, that's why silver is going up, because of the strong industrial demand, ladies and gentlemen. Significant industrial demand of over 50% of global silver consumption comes from industrial applications due to its superior electrical and thermal conductivity. That's all I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. No sean pendejos, brother. La inversión tuya, your investment to, you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say, 30 West. You help me out. You're a smarter man than I am. And I'm smart enough to know that you are smarter than me. You're smarter than me. I know that. It's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. There's a shortage of silver. No sean pendejo. This is why it's going to go all the way to $250 a troy ounce, papi. Because it's a shortage. No hay más ya, papi. And they're fighting for it. BlackRock is fighting for it. State Street is fighting for it. The Bohemian Grove is fighting for it. The Bohemian Grove saluting the owl. Saluting the owl, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know what's going on. And the guy from over there, in the Rothschild, they want a piece of the action and they don't care. They don't care who it is, ladies and gentlemen. They want a piece of the action, ladies and gentlemen. He is scary smart, Mr. Damon. That's right. He is scary smart, and he knows what I'm saying. And this is why I'm saying it, because he is a blind with what I'm saying, you know? I make it funny. I make it sound stupid. One day, I'll come out of character and I'll be my normal self. I'll be my normal self one day. But until now, I don't want to be my normal self, you know? I don't want to be my normal self, you know? It's the holidays, and the best president, the best, not president, the best present, regalo, the best present I can give you is this information for free, you know? I give it to you for free. Papi, the world's upside down. And nobody's going to tell you, okay? Nobody's going to tell you. And I'm telling you what's going on, you know? I told you what's going on with silver. Silver is unbelievable. The consumption comes from industrial applications due to its superior electrical and thermal conductivity. That's it. Más nada, papá. No hay más nada que hablar. No busquen más. No busquen más. I know what I'm telling you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to change to another subject. I told you that every time that someone gets pinched in this business, in the watch industry, another one comes in, you know? You had that guy over there, he's from Mexico over there, showing his Bugattis and his Bentleys and his Ferraris and his Lambos, and he has a watch school, right? But for some reason, that guy has turned off, and we have a new one. He's like 24 years old now, and he's selling how to become a watch dealer, and you have to do between 5 and 8 hours per week, and you got to pay him something like $25,000 to become a watch dealer, and you will be driving in, you know, Paganis, you know, Pagani cars, you'll be driving Ferraris, you'll be eating sushi, $17,000 steak dinners. You know what I'm trying to say? It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. So this gentleman now, he is selling subscriptions how to become a watch dealer in something that is totally dead. Something that is totally dead. Nobody's buying watches. No matter what they keep on telling you, nobody is buying watches, ladies and gentlemen. But the whole plan here is very simple. Paco Gambino always told me this. You know, Paco Gambino will tell me always, Juan, we say this number of $50,000, right? That we're selling this for $50,000. And we're telling everybody out there in the clubs, you know, in the clubs in Brooklyn, in the clubs in Ocean Bay, and Queens, you know, in the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? In all these places. And ladies and gentlemen, what Paco will say was true. We only need one to pay the $50,000. And it's the same with that kid. We only need one to pay the $25,000 for that university school, how to become a watch dealer. Nobody, papi, no te metas en eso. No regales el dinero, no sean pendejos. No regalen más el dinero, no sean gilipollas. La situación está mala, papá. Listen to me. Stay with your 5, 6 watches. Stay with your 5 and 6 watches. If you're looking to buy a watch, from here to next week will be Christmas Eve, you know, Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day. Ladies and gentlemen, buy those watches. Buy those watches in January the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. You buy those watches. Don't buy nothing now. Don't buy nothing from these lambones, ladies and gentlemen, right? You be careful with that guy selling now how to become a watch dealer, how to become a backpacker, you know, how to become a Corona beer era backpacker. Esto se jodió, papi. Ya no hay más dinero, brother. No hay más dinero. No sean pendejos. You got to stop being cow tippers. You got to stop being crumb bums. You got to stop being sandbags. You got to stop being possum kickers, ladies and gentlemen. This is the only channel that's going to tell you the truth. And for me telling you the truth, this is what they do to me. You know? This is what they do to me for me telling you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. You know? You know what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. And we don't care, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you something else, ladies and gentlemen. You know, you got a guy out there which they call Eugene, a.k.a. Jacob McChicken. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a gentleman here, a subscriber. He's an honest subscriber by the name of Mr. Donut. And he was telling Mr. Donut, or Mr. Donut was telling me that he was saying that gold should be at $2,000, no more than that, $1,900. And ladies and gentlemen, today he's preaching to you guys that gold is, you know, he's using my catchphrases. That gold is going all the way to the moon. That gold is going all the way to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this is what this Meshuggah is telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you know? And you know what he was saying? That guy over there, Juan, you know, he's a bum. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but now he's in the bandwagon telling you guys that gold is going all the way to the moon. How can you people buy this crumb bum, this sardine can, you know, this crumb bum sandbag, you know? He's selling memberships for $4.95, ladies and gentlemen. $4.95, and people are buying 20 months. I mean, it's disgusting. But then, ladies and gentlemen, he was making fun of Rolex watches, and now he's pushing Rolex watches. How can you people believe this piece of esta gonorrea? You know what a gonorrea is? You Google it, you know? But you know, that's what it is, you know? So you need to be careful with Eugene, a.k.a. Jacob McChicken. The SEC is looking for him. You Google it. You Google it and you'll find out. And your hairs will stand up. You know, silky little hands, you know. Es un hombre delgado. He's a very, very thin man, you know, very thin man. He's good to embrace, you know. You know what I'm trying to say? He likes to talk about traffic, you know. He likes to talk about, you know, wax your sinus congestion, talk about, he's disgusting. You know, he's disgusting. Honestly, with all due respect to all of you, you know, to see this guy, you gotta be in the same state of mind, you know. Es una pudrición. He's rotten, you know, he's rotten, you know. He talks about men the whole day. That's what I got to say, you know. The SEC is looking for him. Look into him. But ladies and gentlemen, now he's promoting the gold is number one, and now he's promoting the Rolex is number one. Papi, el tipo no sabe qué hacer. He comes to watch my show to copy everything I say. Okay, enough of that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you something. Listen to me carefully so you can continue learning. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there was a big show out there. A big show from Pennsylvania. You know, from Pennsylvania. And they had there this guy, which the chief marketing officer. Chief marketing officer. And he also had a podcast in that channel. Does anybody know who I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you the truth. So help me God, I got to tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen, you know. And ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a gentleman that basically he says that he created over 400 million views on that channel, ladies and gentlemen. You know, that channel over there from, you know, Philadelphia, you know. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about that guy, Deputy Boxing Black Eyes, you know, Deputy Droopy Butthole Eyes with a Tweety Bird haircut, you know, with the My Pillow Warehouse. You know, when he had there a guy that was family member, you know, he did a podcast. And he made a video that he was talking to Rolex AD, and it was all a fake. You know, it was all fake. It was all a lie. And the guy with the boxing black eyes banned him. You know, he banned him. And ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you the truth, because they're telling me people are going by over there by Pennsylvania Avenue by the My Pillow Warehouse. You know, that was a My Pillow Warehouse there where they had there like around at one moment 75 people staff, you know. And now, ladies and gentlemen, even that guy, ladies and gentlemen, he's gone. They fired him, ladies and gentlemen. He's gone. You know, they say, ladies and gentlemen, people go by to see their lights on in that joint. They want to see if their lights on because there's nothing there no more, you know. The guy with the boxing black eyes has become now like a, you know, like, I don't know, like Jesse Smollett, you know, Jesse Smollett, you know. Unbelievable, but true, ladies and gentlemen, you know? So the guy got fired, you know, he got fired. And ladies and gentlemen, they say that that guy, you know, with the podcast, you know, from Deputy Boxing Black Eyes is a family member, you know, a family affair. And he's been let go, ladies and gentlemen. Lo botaron pa casa al carajo. Lo botaron. They, ladies and gentlemen, we haven't seen ever again the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown that works there. We have never seen the mad scientist, and we haven't seen no more Dora the Explorer. You know, those two brothers too that were there, they're partners. You know, one has a, you know, shaved head, and the other one has hair. You know, I think he's one of the father of what's his name again? I forgot, Jiminy Cricket. You know, Jiminy Cricket with the Chia Pet spray can hair, with the baseball cap hair and white out ears. I don't think they're there no more. Nobody's there no more. People pass by to check. There's nobody there no more. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you all this so you understand where the watch business is at. You know, it's in a backyard septic tank and smelly. And smelly, ladies and gentlemen. No sean pendejo. I'm always going to protect you people, ladies and gentlemen. And you might be asking yourself, so how do you know that that guy, you know, the chief marketing officer, family member, you know, married to somebody. He was married to a family there, you know, and pa fuera, you know, he used to do, you know, the nails. How do you call when you do the nails? My wife likes to do the nails every week, you know. You know, they do gel nails. That guy did that too. You know, he was a guy that fixed nails, but then he became the chief executive you know, marketer, you know, over there, you know, in Pennsylvania Avenue and the My Pillow Warehouse. Manicure, you know, the manicure. Thank you very much, Mr. Damon, for always helping me out, ladies and gentlemen. I got to tell you this. I'm in a festive move, you know. I'm in a festive move, and, you know, it's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. You need to know the truth. You need to know the truth, ladies and gentlemen. These people can't even make no more content. They don't have nothing. There's no content, papi. The only content left is me and Sweet Kikino left. And we're the truth. We're the truth, ladies and gentlemen, you know? We're the truth. And I just want to tell you all this, ladies and gentlemen, you know? You need to know about this because that's what happened to that guy. Does anybody know the gentleman's name, that he was a family member of Boxing Black Eyes? Or maybe he was related to Jiminy Cricket, you know? Married to, I don't know, married to someone. You know who I'm talking about? You know what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm trying to, you guys will watch that guy. He will make the podcast. And he would always say, some guy says that, he would say that guy, he would say, some guy says that the watch market is dead. He's dead now. He's gone. They got him out, papi. No hay más dinero, papi. No hay más dinero. There's no more money. No more SBA loans. No more PPP loans. No more government grants. No more stimulus checks. No more unemployment checks. No more protection employment checks, you know? Esto se terminó, papi. Esto se jodió, you know? Esto se jodió, papi. You know, se jodió todo, papi. Se jodió. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't understand how downtown is. They're picking up people left and right. You don't understand me. They're picking up people left and right because I'm a very quiet man. They're picking them up all over the place. Vamos, 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 vamos. Vamos, 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 vamos. Let's go. Vamos, vamos, vamos. They're looking for lawyers. If you're a lawyer, they need your services. Se lo están llevando a todo, papi. Se cagaron en su madre. Se cagaron en su madre. You know what I say? You Google it because I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I'm on a roll today, ladies and gentlemen. You don't understand how I feel, ladies and gentlemen, you know? I got him here. You know, I got him here. Hey, he broke. Hey, what happened to you? He broke. Scott, I don't believe this, you know? I don't know what's going on. They're all breaking. Chevy Chase is here. Unbelievable, Chevy. He's gone too. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you everything I had to tell you. You know? Listen to me. Ice Cube is everywhere. And I'm going to tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. Out of 100%, 60% of watch dealers, jewelers, they're honest, good people. But 40%, they got criminal rap sheets. You don't know about that, ladies and gentlemen. Did I say a name? No, I said they got criminal rap sheets, papi. I'm telling you what it is. How do I know? Because Sweet Kid Kino has a criminal rap sheet. That's how I know, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I'm telling you what it is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, you guys don't want to believe me, and that's fine, papi. That's fine. You can continue saving the Warris fat pastor. You can continue saving the two Jehovah Witness brothers. You can continue saving the two Big Pun and Heavy D. You know, those people, they're looking for them too. Big Pun and Heavy D, driving a Phantom Rolls Royce, you know, Ducati motorcycles. Le deben a todo el mundo. They owned everybody a nickel. Papi, today, la situación, papi, is hard, ladies and gentlemen. It's a hard situation that we're going through. I'm telling you what's going on. I'm giving you warnings. I've been giving you the warnings for the last 3 years for free, ladies and gentlemen, you know. I don't know what to tell you no more, but, you know, things are bad out there, and I'm trying to prepare you. You know, pretty soon, I'm going to make a video on, you know, watch dealers who were criminals, you know, who are criminals that are in this business. And today, se lo están llevando a todos. They're picking them all up. They're picking them all up, papi, because el traqueteo es muy grande, papi, el traqueteo. You know what traqueteo is? Traqueteo? You don't know what traqueteo is? You Google it, because I'm not going to tell you, papi. I'm not going to tell you. But I am going to give you a watch market update, because you guys need that. You guys need a watch market update to protect yourselves from all these people are scum, you know, scum. You know, not scum like the one, scum like, you know, the floor is dirty, full of scum, you know. These people are scum, you know. They're like the corner of a nail, you know, corner of a nail infected, full of yellow-green pus, you know. This is what these people are, papi. Don't let them take you no more. Don't let them take you no more. Ladies and gentlemen, right now I have 36 organic Watch Channel subscribers. And I promise you, out of the 36, 16 are spooking. 16 are spooking right now. Because when they hear me talk, I'm like E.F. Hutton, you know? E.F. Hutton, ladies and gentlemen. Papi, tú no sabes lo que está pasando, papi. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. They're buying houses in the West Coast of Cape Coral. You know? BlackRock is buying those houses over there. Ladies and gentlemen, they're buying it at 30 cents to the dollar. You know? Everybody's listening today, papi, because today I felt like I should give it to you for free. You know, I should give it to you for free because it's what it is. We're not going to be talking about a strap. We're not going to be talking about a road or the watch. Papi, we're going to talk one day about watches all over again. But, you know, we got to tell you what's happening so you guys stop giving away your children's tuition money, papi. BlackRock is eating babies. You know? Eating babies. You know, adrenochrome? You know what adrenochrome is? You know, do you know what adrenochrome is? Ladies and gentlemen, you know, a liter of adrenochrome. I'm going to say this, I can stop this, because what I'm going to tell you is powerful, papi. What I'm going to tell you is powerful. You know, right now, I might get a thunder lightning y se fue todo, because what I'm going to tell you now is going to blow your hair back and knock your socks off. Adrenochrome is something which is unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. And a liter of adrenochrome will cost you $2 billion. A liter of adrenochrome will cost you $2 billion. You know? And that guy over there, Fink Larry, he likes to use it a lot, ladies and gentlemen. And for you to get a liter of adrenochrome, you need 100 babies. You need to, you know, you don't want to hear this, but you have to, Bobby, to get you smart. You got to give him a little electric shot, and then you drain him. You drain him. You know that lady, Martha Stewart, she's like 87 years old. She looks like she's 27, Papi. You know, and they're addicted to adrenochrome. You know, one shot. You know, it's a beauty of a fountain of youth. Papi, what I'm telling you is monster, Papi. You know what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you this for free. The day that I'm no longer here, you're going to say, we missed this guy, man. This guy was dropping knowledge in a laughable way, but he was telling us the truth. It cost $2 billion. You don't believe me? Leave the show and Google it. $2 billion to get a liter of milk, a carton of milk. You know, it costs $2 billion. It's the best. It's the best cosmetic can buy. It's gross. You know, and those people are demons. Those people are demonic. This is why they have to drink piss and eat poop, because they're bad people, Bobby. We're the good ones. We're the good ones. They're the bad ones, ladies and gentlemen. Do you guys know what I just finished telling you? Can anybody raise their hand and tell me, yes, I know what you're talking? I want to see how many hands of these 39 organic Watch Channel subscribers will raise their hands. Go ahead. I'm going to drink a little water to see how many hands I get there. Don't be afraid, man. Don't be afraid. You know what I'm trying to say, Papi. It's the fountain of youth, Papi. But nobody tells you that, you know? Nobody tells you that. You know, you got Cher. You know who Cher is? Thank you. Thank you very much. You know? You don't know, but you believe. But that's wonderful. Hey, we got 2 hands already up. Wow. We got 2 hands, Papi. You put that in your body. If I get a shot of that, I become like, you know, I become like the beaver, you know, that guy, you know, which the beaver is almost done. You know, the beaver is, any moment he'll be slaughtered, you know, because these people slaughter you like you don't believe me. But it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. I got to talk to you that way because we are nearing the year. We are nearing the year. And ladies and gentlemen, they have tried everything. You're in shock, huh? You're in shock. Ladies and gentlemen, they're in shock. Can anybody tell those people out there that what I'm saying, at least 50% of what I'm saying is true? Not 100, say 50, so they can understand. You know what I'm saying? These people son gonorrea. Papi, you have to join that club. Te tienes que comer un mojón de un perro. To join that club, you need, they say, you see that dog over there taking a dump? You see him right now? You see the shit coming out of his anus? Yes. Well, that shit right there, you're going to eat it today in front of us because you want to join this group. You want to join this group, so you're going to eat el mojón del perro ese. You know? And then, you see that cat over there? He's doing piss. You're going to drink that cat's piss. You know? You don't know about this, Papi. That son monstruos. These are monsters. When they told you about vampires and monsters and the boogeyman, Papi, it's all for real. What do you think? What do you think those people in Hollywood are, man? You know, come on. Have you seen that lady? What's her name? You know, Adriana Grande, whatever her name is. Have you seen the way she looks, Papi? What they have made her into? Some monster, Papi. You ever seen the movie? I think it was with Antonio Banderas and Brad Pitt. You know, Antonio Banderas, Brad Pitt. I think it's the other guy too. The other guy that he's into that science, you know, science-tology. You know what I'm talking about? The Cruiser, you know, that Cruise Tom, you know. They made a movie about Dracula and sucking. They're telling you right there. They're telling you what it is. You know, adrenochrome. Boom, right here. Interview with the vampire. It's telling you right there. Pero ustedes son unos pendejos. Ustedes todos son unos pendejos. Quieren seguir. You guys want to continue skip hopping around through life, you know. Paco Gambino told me this. The Austin twins. Miley Cyrus. You know, Adriana Grande. The Beaver, you know, these people, they're all, you know, the other guy from Puerto Rico, you know, Bunny Bad. These are people, they're there, you know, and after they slaughter these people. Papi, to be in that world, you have to give up everything. You even have to sacrifice. If you have a child and they want your child to be sacrificed, you will sacrifice them. You don't know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. I'm only telling you the truth. You just can't handle the truth. You know, you just can't handle the truth. You still think and you still believe that your vote matters. You really think that your vote matters. Ay, Señor mío. Guys, I hope I didn't gross you out, man. All right, guys. You know, I've been reading this for too many years. You know, and I had two teachers. They taught me so much that I am grateful to them for the rest of my life. You know, and they got me at a very very young age. One was my beloved father, and the other one was Paco Gambino. And you know, they would sit me down and he gets paid, Papi. You know it, Dr. E. Come on, tell them. Papi, when they come back for you, they tell you, listen to me. You're 19 years old. You're 19 years old. And they tell you, you want to be famous and you want to be wealthy, rich. Yes. How many years will you be happy? And you say, I'll be happy until I'm 60 years old. And they say, okay, you're going to be famous and you're going to be rich until you're 60 years old. And when you started, you were 19 years old. From 19 to 60 is very far. That's what Paco Gambino will tell me. Paco Gambino was an unbelievable mind. You know, he says, you know, Juan, and they would tell you when you were 19 years old, you're going to have all the riches you want, you know? Tú sabes lo que hay, papá. Tú entiendes. ¿Tú me entiendes? You're going to have all the riches, but these people, they forget that the years go by, and they go by quickly. They go by real quickly. So like Dr. E was telling you, you know, Satan always get paid, and he comes back and he tells you, you know what? You already reached 60 years. You have over, an example, you have over $300 million. You have fame. You had a beautiful career making movies, singing, whatever it is. But we want your soul. We want it back now, you know? And that's how they find them in a corner of an elevator, you know, like Prince, or you find George Michael, or you find, you know, the guy, you know, what's his name? The guy that did Thriller, you know, the guy, Michael, whatever you call him. They come for you, papi. Listen, as long as you don't play with those people, you're fine. You're fine. But they're coming for you. Satan wants to get paid back, and they want their money back. You think that these people have all these millions of dollars. You think they do. Yeah, they do. You just are monitoring their money. You're monitoring their money. You don't have that money. When they want it back, they get it back. You know? Have you ever heard again from what's his name? You know, that guy that did the program, you know, with the mother and the husband and had like 6 children. Dr. Huxtable. Dr. Huxtable. Can anybody help me out? Whatever happened to that guy? Have you ever heard from him again? Dr. Huxtable? Has anybody heard from Dr. Huxtable? You know, the wife was a lawyer. He was a doctor, baby and delivery, boys, and you know, all that stuff. When these people, they don't want you no more. They don't want you no more. They don't want you no more. This is why you have to keep on. You know, you have to keep on doing sacrifices and giving up people, you know. And he ain't coming out no more. And he ain't coming out. He's over there. Because listen to me, those people, they salute the owl. I don't want to talk no more because, you know, talking too much is not a good thing. And I haven't told you nothing. Everything that I'm telling you is allegedly, you know, saluting, you know. But I'm going to give you a watch market update because you deserve it. Ladies and gentlemen, our first watch, ladies and gentlemen, is an AP Royal Oak stainless steel Blue Chrono. You know, Blue Chrono 38 millimeter. Unbelievable looking watch, you know. Reference number 26715. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell all of you, I mean, you do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch. 38 millimeter AP Blue Dial Chrono 38. Don't pay for it more than $41,500. $500. You do whatever you want, ladies and gentlemen. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is an AP Royal Oak Rose Gold Open Work, double balance wheel, reference number 15407. Ladies and gentlemen, this is rose gold, open work, double balance wheel. Un relosazo, a time machine, ladies and gentlemen. It was over $400,000 in that Corona beer era. And ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor and don't pay for that watch more than $176,000 and dropping. I mean, you do whatever you want. It's your money. I can only guide you and help you, That's all. That's all. I can only guide you and help you. Mr. Donor is saying 160. Mr. Donor is a brilliant mind, It's heading in that direction. Just to let you know, ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Patek Philippe Grand Complications Perpetual Calendar. Unbelievable looking time machine. Platinum. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, the retail price of this watch is $174,000. $174,000, papi. Un relosazo. You want to hear the reference, ladies and gentlemen? It's the 5236P. Unbelievable time machine. It's $170,000. It is the retail price, ladies and gentlemen. Papi, no sean pendejo, no sean pendejo, de verdad, no sean pendejo. This is a watch, but don't pay for that Grand Complications Patek Philippe 5236 Perpetual Calendar. Don't pay more than $81,000. You do whatever you want, papi. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. Let me explain to you something, papa. We might be talking about Audemars Piguet, Audemars Piguet. We might be talking about Patek Philippe. We might be talking about Richard Mille, Breguet, all that. But I'm going to tell you, all of you, this, and I'll keep on telling you, no matter what you guys want to hear, no matter if you want to hear about Movado watches, no matter if you want to hear, exactly, buy silver. That's all. Buy silver. No matter if you want to hear all these other watches. The only watch you can never go wrong in your money. If you lose something, you lose a couple of, G's, but most of the time you're going to win. And you know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't done this for a while, and I must do it for you. It's the king of watches. That's all. It's the king of watches. It is the king of watches. No matter what they try to tell you, it is the king of watches. It is the king of watches. No matter what they keep on telling you, it is the king of watches. The rest is to get you deep. That's all. The rest. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. I got AP. I got Patek. I got Rolex. I got Panerai. I got probably, ladies and gentlemen, the most I have is Rolex. How's that? The most I have is Rolex. There's nothing like Rolex. No matter what they keep on telling you. They'll tell you that the Ellipse Patek. They'll tell you that the Breguet. They'll tell you about the Audemars Piguet, papi. The only watch in the whole world you go and your money is there is a Rolex, papi. I'm sorry to tell you that, papi. I just finished telling you about a watch. About a beautiful complication, blue dial. Blue dial, papi. Un relosazo. Platinum. $170,000. Not complications, grand complications. Don't pay more than $80,000. I can say whatever I want. Don't pay more than $79,000. How's that? $79,000 now. It's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, here's another one for you. Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, ultra thin, blue dial, flying, and I mean flying tourbillon, 41 millimeter, ladies and gentlemen. Reference number, ladies and gentlemen, this watch is the 26670. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what this watch was costing at one moment? And those people, those two toddler body brothers were making a killing on those watches, you know? They would buy it for $375,000, $375, and sell it to you for $475, making a cool $100,000 on the watch. And I'm gonna tell you today, because I'm stupid like that, don't pay for that flying tourbillon. How much am I gonna tell you? Let's see. How much? Go ahead. Who's here? Let's see who's here. Let's see who's here. Christopher, how much am I going to tell you not to pay for that watch? How much, Christopher, for that flying tourbillon? Stainless steel, blue dial. Go ahead. Don't feel bad. Tell me the number. Don't take too long, because if you take too long, you're Googling it. Nobody knows, huh? Are you ready for it? Don't pay for that watch. And I mean, don't. Coño! Salute to you, Christopher. Salute to you, Papa. Don't pay for that watch more than $162,000. He said 165. He got the number. Wow, Chris. Unbelievable. Salute, Papa. Unbelievable. You saw that, Mr. Donut. I got somebody there. Papi. You know what it is to buy the watch for $375 and flip it quickly for $475? And then we have here an organic watch channel subscriber that says sitting down, don't pay more than $165. Watch market is dead. The only watch that's gonna hold your value. You're very welcome, Mr. Christopher. You're very, very welcome. And I mean that, de verdad. Honestidad. I mean that, Papa. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable, Papi. It was unbelievable, Mr. Donut, you know? It was unbelievable. I get happy when I hear this, ladies and gentlemen, you know? It's crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, here is another one. A Patek Philippe complications, not grand complications. Complications, that's all. Complications, blue dial, diamond bezel, the 5961 P, platinum, ladies and gentlemen, Papi. This is a beast watch, another beast watch, Papi. El reloj monstruoso, you know, Papi. You know, there's no more. These people can fool you all they want. They can fool you all they want, but you guys ain't fools no more. You know, those people over there from Feet Happy, you know, with the two Roxbury brothers. One is introverted, one is tall, one is short, one talks a lot, the other one is in the corner. You know what I'm saying? You know? And they were taught real well by their father, you know? You go to school today, you take these 5 blow pops, and if you come back home with one, you're going to be an unbelievable salesman, you know? And they will talk well, but they can't fool you no more. They can no longer fool you, ladies and gentlemen. They could no longer fool you. And I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that Patek. Complications, blue dial, diamond bezel. Don't pay for that watch more than $118,000 and dropping, ladies and gentlemen. You do whatever you want, Papi. Listen to me. You got the Iron Sheik toupee, you know? You know, the toupee man hangs out with the Iron Sheik, you know, toupee wig man, you know? The guy that's like 87 years old, flower shirts, yellow jeans, green shoes, pink belt. You know, he's worth like $475 million, but he's pushing watches all over the place. And let me tell you something, because I'm stupid like that. You know, toupee wigman, ladies and gentlemen? Toupee wigman. This is what Sweet Kid Kino told me, and Kino told me to tell you guys. You know what toupee wigman is doing now, ladies and gentlemen? He's taking off his Patek Philippe Aquanaut, you know? You know, the one that's white gold chrono, blue dial, blue rubber strap. It's like $120,000. He's selling that watch. I said it wrong. He's trading that watch. Guess for what? Guess for what? It don't tell nobody for precious metal materials, ladies and gentlemen. You think these people are stupid? They're not stupid. They're not like us. They're not like us. You know, because you guys want to give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, ladies and gentlemen. You know, give it away like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You give it away to all of them. And what do you give away to me and Sweet Kid Kino? Nothing. But we don't care. We don't care. We don't care. We're still here. We're still here, ladies and gentlemen. We're still here. You know what I'm trying to say, Christopher. You know what I'm trying to say. Papi, these people are not stupid. You know what it is? They're giving their watches away for precious metal. You know, for precious metal, silver, platinum, gold, you know, palladium, you know, rhodium, and even copper. You know, copper, Papa? The China people in the United States, they want all the copper. You don't know about that. That's for another day. We'll tell you that for another day, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you about a Rolex Daytona white gold. You know, Oyster Flex. They call it the Ghost. This is the older version, the 116, you know? 116. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to hear how much the 126 costs. The Ghost, you know, in that reference. The 126 is like, oh, forget it. But this one, ladies and gentlemen, 40 millimeter Oyster Flex Ghost, don't pay for that watch no matter what they tell you. Don't pay for that watch more. And I mean, don't pay more. Does anybody know what I'm going to tell you? Why not to pay for that watch? Does anybody know? It's unbelievable, this channel. This channel has been chosen by no other than Goldman Sachs as the best watch market update show in the world. You know, humor. You know, we give you humor. We give you relaxation. You know, we give you a lot of things in this channel. We open your horizons. You know what I'm trying to say? Papi, the Ghost. You know, the Ghost. Oyster Flex, older version. Discontinue one, $39,000. I'm going to tell you, Mr. Premium, because I like you a lot, don't pay for that watch more than $35,500. $35,500. You do whatever you want with your money. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. If you want to continue giving your money away to all these flim-flammers, all these hoodwinks, all these hucksters, all these, you know, spoof balls, you know, just don't forget, you know, to give a little bit away to the animal shelters and UNICEF, you know, those children. You know what I tell you about those children? To get a liter of adrenochrome, you need 100 babies. Let that sink in your head. Let that sink in your head. If tomorrow I'm not around, you know what happened to me. They got me. You know, that's it. You know what I'm trying to say. And if you want to give to Sweet Kid Kino's charity, you give it to him. You know, of the recovering tomato cans that we still have around. We have people that still come to us that they haven't been able to, you know, awaken from the travesty that has happened to them in the watch industry. You know, there's people that really believed that buying all these watches were going to become multi-millionaires. Pobrecito, mano, pobrecito, what disgusting. This is the only watch brand you need to get. This one right here. They should be happy that I'm doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Rolex stainless steel Land Dweller 127334 with a white chicken coupe dial. You know, the white chicken coupe dial. You understand what I'm trying to say? The white chicken coupe dial. Unbelievable watch, you know? It's unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, it's like a $16,000 retail watch, and it went all the way up to $60,000 on a stainless steel. Does anybody know what I'm going to tell you not to pay for that Land Dweller? Stainless steel, white chicken coupe dial. Does anybody know? Does anybody know? You know, it went all the way up, you know, and now it's all the way down. But we're all the way down. How much am I going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen? Does anybody know? There you go. This is a smart man we have here. You know, right away, $28,000. You know, one more. $19,000. Okay, this is the 40 millimeter, 40, not 36, 40. If somebody said 20 and he's hitting it right in the head, don't pay for that watch. Don't pay for that watch, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get scared, papi. Don't get scared. Again, somebody said 28, Jose Diaz. And I'm going to tell you Jose Diaz because soy una sabandija. You know what a sabandija is? I'm a sabandija. Don't pay for that land dweller. 40 millimeter stainless steel with the chicken coop white dial. Don't pay for it more than $26,500. That's all. That's all you pay for that watch. That's all you pay for that watch, ladies and gentlemen. I know what I'm telling you. I know what I'm telling you, and I got to tell you the truth. I got to tell you the truth always, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this is how it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Rolex Sky Dweller, rose gold, you know, with a blue dial, oyster bracelet. Oyster bracelet, papi. Papi, oyster bracelet, you know? Sky Dweller, blue dial, rose gold, oyster bracelet. Papi, this watch was all the way up there. It was all the way up there. You want the reference number? I'll give you the reference number, the 336935. 336935. Does anybody know what price I'm going to tell you not to pay for that watch, ladies and gentlemen? Does anybody know? Nobody knows? Give me a number there. Come on, make me happy. Show me that you know something. 64,000, 45,000. Beautiful job, Thurston Howard. Beautiful job, Mr. Premium. Go ahead, one more. We need one more. We need one more. Come on, one more. Nobody knows? And it was all the way up there in the middle 60s, you know? And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you the truth because you need to know this. Mr. Donor, you don't want to give it a shot, Mr. Donor? Christopher, you don't want to give it a shot? Wow, Mr. Donor came in fighting, man. Mr. Donor came in fighting. Mr. Donor doesn't play around. Mr. Donor doesn't play around. Ladies and gentlemen, don't pay for that Rolex Sky Dweller oyster bracelet, you know, blue dial. You know, it's an unbelievable watch. Unbelievable watch. 42 millimeter. 336935 is the reference number. Don't pay for that watch more than $56,000. Don't pay more than $56,000. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen. You guys got to be prepared for what's coming. What's coming with Rolex now is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be unbelievable. You're going to have watches there that, you know, these masters that were retired from Carl F. Bucarer, now they're doing complication watches for Rolex and what's coming in. And let me tell you something, you know, I hope that I'm right. I hope that I'm right, but I might be wrong. But you know, now when Christmas is over, it starts the fever of discontinued watches. But people don't care about discontinued watches right now on Rolex, which is the #1 discontinued watch there is. Rolex watches. They're going to be looking for complication watches, you know, perpetual calendar, tourbillons, you know, all those watches. And those people, man, those Muppet boiler room secondary grade watch market channel dealers are ready. They're like this, papi, because one of those Rolex watches, if they come out, you know, perpetual calendar, complications, tourbillon, papi, you're talking about one of those Rolex watches, le van a romper las nalgas a todo el mundo. Le van a romper las nalgas a todo el mundo. Rolex is going to bust everybody up. If they come out slinging, if they come out, shing, and they're doing, you know, perpetual calendar, tourbillon, split second, because, papi, they got all those people. Rolex is the king of watches. Rolex is the king of watches. And they knew when they bought out Bucarer, they were not buying Bucarer. They were getting the master watchmakers, you know, the grandfather, the father, the son, you know, like thoroughbred horses in the Kentucky Derby, you know, Secretariat, you know, Big Brown, you know, Citation, You know what I'm saying? And down the stretch they come. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Those watchmakers, they keep on, papi. It's in their blood, in their DNA, in their genetics. And Rolex is going into that game y le va a romper la nalga a todo el mundo, papi. You know what I'm saying? War Admiral, you know? War Admiral. You know what I'm trying to say? You know, Sunday Silence. You know who Sunday Silence is? Paco Gambino. He put it on Sunday Silence, you know? Over there, you know, in Hollywood, over there in Hollywood, in that racetrack, you know? Unbelievable, you know? Gato del Sol. You don't know who Gato del Sol is. You people don't know about this stuff. You guys are continue skipping around through life like bunny rabbits, you know? Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you another watch. Here's a Richard Mille, the RM6702. You know, the Wade Van Neerick. You know, Neerick, you know, it's green with yellow. You know, it's one of those watches. You know what I'm saying? It was over $700,000, you know? Thoroughbreds. These people are unbelievable. You know, do you know who Gato del Sol is? You know, Gato del Sol. He was an unbelievable horse, you know? Paco Gambino would put money on that. And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, I'm going to tell you something. Let me give you this watch market, and then I'll tell you this story. This Richard Mille RM6701, the Wade Van Niekerk, you know? This watch was $600,000, you know? $650,000. You know what I'm trying to say. Eddie Graham, you know your stuff, Damon. You know what I'm saying. Santa Anita, papa. Santa Anita. Ladies and gentlemen, don't pay for that Richard Mille. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for it more than $200. You tell them that I said this, all right? The Wade Van Niekerk. Don't pay for it more than $263,000. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When I was around these old timers, you know, these old timers were nasty. Saludos, Alex. And then we used to go to Calder, you know, Calder racetrack, you know, because we had different seasons here in Miami, you know. We had Hialeah, we had Calder, and we had the one over there in Hollandale, you know. And these people used to run to other places, and they would take me, you know. And I was a young kid, and I was hanging around with these old timers, and they would tell me, go over there and play me a quinela, put there $20 on a quinela, put 50 on this, on a perfecta, exacta, trifecta, and all that stuff, you know. And every time I would go buy them the tickets and come back, you know, I would come back with change, $8, $4, and all these people would give me $4, $8, you know. I was like the runner, you know. I was the runner. I know you guys don't understand that, but this is, you know, when I was a young kid. And, you know, and I would sit down and, you know, like in the movies, that was me. You know, when I see a movie and I see somebody doing that, that was me in real life, you know. And Paco Gambino would tell me, he would tell me, hey, young fella, go buy a hot dog for you, you know, and get myself a hot dog and be with these people. And you learn their language, you learn their habits, you know. These people were stand up, you know, these people were unbelievable. And this is no story. This is for real, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe you might think I'm bullshitting you, but I ain't bullshitting you. It's what it is, you know? Exactly. I'm running all over the place, you know? I'm running all over the place, and I'm sitting down in a real big, long, you know, Eldorado, you know, a big, long Eldorado, you know? The car was like 20 times bigger than Paco Gambino. Unbelievable, you know? And my father over there, you know, sitting up there. And then they would go to, you know, Biscayne dog track, you know, Flagler. You don't know about that. You know, Biscayne, you know, over there in the beach. Miami Beach in First, you know, in First, in Collins, Ocean Drive. Biscayne was right there, you know. And we used to go to Hollywood dog track. I just thought I should tell you that, you know, my life, you know. It's an unbelievable life, you know. It's an unbelievable life. So you learn with these people. And the stories those people would tell me, I used to, you know, when they would drop me off, you know, I used to go, woof. Because there were stories that, you know, you thought they were stories, you know? You know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, guys, I'm going to give you Last watch market update of the evening, because you guys need to hear this. And I want Christopher to hear this. Good times, it really was. It really was a lot of fun, Papa. It really was. I mean, oh man, I forgot to tell you. So they were they would change, from the horses to the dogs, and then they would take me to Dania. Dania Highlight. They got Dania Highlight. They have Fort Pierce, Dania, and you had the Miami Fronton Highlight. We had there Joey. Joey used to play in the Miami Highlight, and then he was sold to Dania. Dania. I don't know if you guys, what Highlight and Huevo Waco, Baco. Baco. Over there. From the Spanish people. Highlight. The big fix. Unbelievable. But these guys knew it all. They knew who it was, because some of these guys, would they would share stories with these people. You know who Joey is? Joey was a Highlight player that we had here in Miami. And he got sold to Dania Highlight. And we had Waristi and we had Assis. Anyway, forget about that, guys. Forget about that. I'm gonna give you a watch model that all of you must hear this, all right? And in particular, you people that like to buy these watches. I've been talking about this watch for some time, and this watch is the Patek Philippe Cubitus. In my last watch market updates, I've been talking about this watch. This is the 7128. It's white gold, okay? 7128 white gold, 40 millimeter with a blue dial. This watch has a retail price of $92,469. I'm going to tell you about this watch because you need to know this. I told you for the first time that I gave you a watch market update, exactly, it's dropping faster than Bill Clinton's pants in an Arkansas farmhouse. And I must keep on giving it to you so you guys don't make a mistake. Even though that guy wanted me, an old timer wanted me to give him a watch market update, I gave it to him. I told him don't pay more than 118. And then a couple of days ago, I told you don't pay for it more than 114, right? Don't pay more than 114. You remember that, huh, Chris? You remember that, okay. Highlight, we had all that here. And I was just you know what I was? I was a golfer. But it was enough for me being, 18, 19 years old that I was able to go to the club scene, after I finished my duties with them. And I had, this is 1978, 78, 79. And I had $250 in my pocket, man. I was King Kong. A Heineken in the bar, well, in a club will cost you, $2.50. Happy hour was $1.50. I was King Kong, man. I was loaded, man. And these people would just take care of me. I mean, sometimes I would come home with, with $400, and it was wonderful. If they hit a good perfecta, it was big time for me. I was gonna get chiching, because most of the time they would even send me to, cash it out for them, Then I had to come back. Yo, Paco, they want your Social Security. You know what I'm saying. So anyway, on this Patek Philippe Cubitus, 40 millimeter, white gold, blue dial. Don't get scared, ladies and gentlemen. I told you 118, 114, and hear me out. Don't pay for this watch. Don't pay for this watch more than $112,000. It's dropping faster than Bill Clinton's pants in an Arkansas farmhouse. All right, guys? Don't pay more than that. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a bonus. It is the Rolex Yellow Gold Daytona Oyster Flex with a blue dial, Tiffany dial, okay? Tiffany dial. I've had the privilege of seeing this watch already in auction. Seeing this watch in auction. You know what I'm trying to say, in auction. This is the 126518 LN. LN. This watch I was at 200, 150, 130, 120, 115. And I'm going to tell all of you, you do whatever you want. Cash is king. If you have cash in your pocket, and I learned all this from all those wise guys, and I mean wise guys, I don't mean as wise guys like, those bad guys. These guys, they were just wise. They were very, very wise, and they were very, very wise. And they would always tell me, listen, Juan, cash is king. You dominate the whole conversation. You dominate it. All right? You're talking about a watch that's, $40,000, retail price, 40 something thousand dollars. And I'm going to tell all of you ladies and gentlemen, don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. If you really want that Tiffany, don't pay for that watch more than $85,000. All right, guys? Guys, I really hope you enjoy this watch market update. I do this with a lot of love. I do it with a lot of respect towards all of you. And most of all, like Paco told me before he left this world, he says, Juan, you tell people what you know. You're going to leave, Somebody has to know what's happening. Somebody has to know that the fix is on. Somebody has to know the basketball is fixed. Somebody has to know that football is fixed. Somebody has to know that baseball is fixed. Everything is fixed here, Everything is fixed. There's nothing here that's, there's nothing here that's like, hey, it's square business. Everything is fixed, And I learned that in a very, very young age. All right, guys? Anyway, guys, again, thank you so much for being here, all of you. Don't forget to look into silver. I emphasize, don't forget to look into silver. I also want to say something to a gentleman that we have in this channel that he is looking for an FP Journe. He is looking for an FP Journe watch, the Line Sport. I'm doing everything in my power to help him out with this watch because he really wants to have this watch on Christmas Day under his Christmas tree, and I'm helping him out. I also want to say I want to thank a gentleman by the name of Max from the company, and I'm going to say this because I tell him I was going to give him a shout out, from the company 1916, which I'm talking to him regarding that watch. Hopefully, Max is listening to me. Max, help me out with the price of that watch so I can help out a loyal subscriber in this channel. All right? Thank you very much. Again, from the 1916, Max. Thank you again. Anyway, guys, like we say always, take care and brush your hair. Peace. Paco Gambino was crazy. He would hit those quinellas and perfectas. He was going crazy, One time he hit the super trifecta, It had 4 numbers. He's unbelievable, that guy. Take care, guys. Good night.